All right, everybody. It's 6 o'clock on Wednesday, and I just got done fooling around with my technology, which um, is my problem. Uh, I, uh, I don't have an IT group. It's like when I was a kid, they used to call it AV club in high school. But I'm gonna make myself small. This is my new office. I don't even have the art on the walls or anything. But I'm moving in bit by bit, and I hope my audio is okay. It looks good. I am recording, so everything seems to be working up and running. I'll put this one up to show you all. But the big news is that our my laptop endeavor on Monday night worked. So the lecture is there for chapter 3, which is a big break for me. I don't have to record a lecture for you, except maybe I'll have to during the middle of the semester to try and get you to step 12, chapter 12. um, anyway, let's do a little housekeeping. I'm going to make me small here. This is OBS software, if you're curious. A lot of gamers use it. It's a studio software, and it's free, and it's really good. I don't think I've recorded a lot of my lectures, and it's not laggy and I don't have great internet here. I'm ripping off Xfinity. Well, I think we pay for it, but I'm just on a connection down here in Rifle to Xfinity, and it's working just fine. Okay, as you can see, I've got this up. I just wanted to click through to our course once again and urge you to do the same. But get going. If you're not going, get going and don't move while this stuff is fresh. But from here, base camp this is. I'm going to go to Canvas, and then I wanted to go to our course, which is here for me, and then McGraw-Hill Connect. Thinking out loud now, trying to think of what I wanted to show you. Oh, I want to go in WebEx. That's right. I want to go in WebEx and show you again where these recordings are. Mine comes to classroom collaboration. I don't know why. But it does, and I can collaborate with you here too. I'm not really. I'm sure we could figure it out pretty quickly if you wanted to. I was going to Zoom with Aaron the other day, and I dropped the ball and because of my move. But I'll Zoom with you or do whatever you want. If you're not aware, if you go into Basecamp, you have a subscription to Zoom that comes. You see it down here where I'm pointing. That comes with your subscription, your enrollment in the school. What also comes with your enrollment in the school is, I'm not sure you're aware, is all of these Microsoft products. Look at them. All of these products you have. So don't go out and buy or license anything. Just keep taking one course a year. Get that cooking course. So or whatever, take a course from me, I hope, and so that you'll get keep your email going, be a lifetime learner, and you'll never have to pay for Microsoft products again. And if you're like me, I get it. See, there's Cisco, and Zoom is down here in this hamburger. What do you call this? I don't know. What do you call this? You used to call it a hamburger because it was lines, but those are your apps. Your apps. Okay, so I'm set up here to go into Canvas from that direction. That's just the way I've always done it. And then I go into McGraw-Hill Connect the same way you all do, and then I go over here. And so I just wanted to, I will, in a way of housekeeping, chapter 3 is up, of course, and I'm going to put up chapters 4, 5, and 6, I think. And after chapter 4, we'll have there'll be an exam up, and it's like a 38 question exam, and they're multiple choice, so it's not really brutal, and you get multiple attempts as well. So don't get hung up on grades. Period. We're here to learn. I don't know, together. I don't. I'm so tired of this grading thing. I know that you have to get a credential, and it's important to you. And if you want to know how you compare to other students, ask me, and I'll tell you. I'll be honest with you. Okay, so that's where we are as far as housekeeping goes with the course, I think. So is that all I had to tell you in chapter 3? Yeah, so I went through some of the homework in chapter 3. Oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you was this. If you go in here into Basecamp or into Canvas, you'll notice that I have a discussion down here for questions. It's called AC 121 discussion board, and no one has put anything up, but please do, and I'll post this. I will post this recording to there, as well as an announcement, and maybe that'll get people to use that. But if you have questions, go ahead and put them there. It's the ultimate online experience is to get you all collaborating, and that's when you're pissed off about the software or the workload or whatever, go on there. I don't edit it. I don't I don't care what you say on there. This is college. You're supposed to be able to say what you please, and you won't hurt my feelings. So do whatever it is you think is best. When you're doing things professionally or for other professors, maybe they have a different level of decorum that they might ask for. But certainly, the only level of decorum I require or hope for is that you're kind and to your classmates. You don't have to be kind to me. I got broad shoulders. I don't care. I don't know. I turned 50 and I'm just like, whatever. Okay. Here we go. I did want to quickly, as a part of this little hello, midweek hello, show you something that's been on my mind and something that should be a part of your education and maybe would not, because of the short nature of our lecture period and our time together. This is, you don't have to, you can turn it off now, or you can kind of bear with me, and because I have some thoughts on interest rates and how they function in an economy. As you know, I teach economics, and that's really my forte. I've done a lot of reading and thinking about the economics as a social science. I don't look at it as a mathematical science. I look at it as a social science, and I am what's called an Austrian economist, which means I believe in free markets as a better way to adjudicate, especially helping the poor. So anyway, let's talk about what happens when you mess around with interest rates, and what does it mean to housing. And in particular, I don't know if you know this, but Kelly and I just moved, and we're now going to buy another house. And what I quickly want to show you is what it is that happened to us, and why we made the decisions that we made together about. It may seem odd to you what we really ended up doing. There's our old house. Yeah, we loved it. It was a beautiful house. Look at, there's the see, there's a house. Here's the house. Here's my little goats here, and these new owners have it. They're wonderful people. That's a shop I had, and there's 5 acres here. It just got to be too much for us. But and Alice wanted to live in town. We have a 12-year-old daughter. But what I want to make very clear here is that this house we paid cash for in 2007. Now, if you were aware of what was going on in 2007, there was an economic crash, and it was due to what they called a housing bubble. Now, the way a free market person thinks about a housing bubble is this: when the Federal Reserve affects interest rates, they don't set interest rates. They buy and sell government bonds in order to push interest rates in a direction they would like them. When they lower interest rates, people tend to buy things. Now, I'm going to show you the new place. And we call that malinvestment. We call that buying things that are more than you might need, or projects. You can see development projects up and down the valley that were abandoned in 2008. Well, that was a result of low interest rates in the Austrian way of thinking. The Keynesians, on the other hand, believe that monetary policy, as adjudicated by the Federal Reserve, which is a central bank, is a fine way to manage an economy. Now, there's an important concept there, and the concept is economic management. Economic management means, so when someone says to you, or you go to a cocktail party and you say, capitalism doesn't work, look at what happened in 2008. If there's a free market thinker there, like myself, they might say, I don't understand what you're talking about. You sound like you're describing a pig but pointing at a cow. And what I mean by that is, when you describe what occurred in 2008 as a failure of capitalism, you're ignoring the fact that we have a political body and a Federal Reserve that manipulate interest rates and monetary policy. In other words, they either print money or they change the interest rate in order to make people buy things. So consumerism is at the center of the Keynesian idea. And John Maynard Keynes was an economist back in England. He died in the late 40s, but his back when this whole debate began to take place between free market and interventionism, the Keynesians won. And we don't have a free market economy. We have what is called a mixed economy. I would subject it to this type of scrutiny and say that it's not even close to being a free market, because you manipulate the price of money. And the price of money is the interest rate. All right, so that said, we have a new house that we're going to pay $730,000 on. Right now, we live, do I need a new note? I just put up this whiteboard. Oh yeah. Right now, we live in an apartment, the Lofts, which is over by Target in Glenwood Springs. If you're not a student from the Valley, you won't know this. It's a three-bedroom, 1,500 square feet. It should be feet squared. How do you do that? Like this. Square feet, 3-bedroom, 1,500 square foot, second-story apartment in a 4-story building. It goes for $3,200 plus let's say dog fees and a parking fee, because we had a parking spot. Kelly wanted, the Queen needed her own parking place. She's going to be watching this. Sometimes she watches my lectures. And I say shit like that, and she's like, what? The parking fee. So she needed a spot for her rig. I'm on my own, but it just makes it easy. She does most of the driving. But anyhow, so 3-bedroom, 1,500 square feet, $3,200 a month. Now, here's the other kicker. We sold this house, right? We sold the house we bought in 2007 for $930,000. Okay. For $1 million, $1.1 million it ended up being, 1, $1,100,000. Okay, so that you know, and I said to Kelly, well, you know, we didn't make any money, clearly, right? 13 years later, we had done numerous things to it. Now you're accountants now, so you can imagine not just expenses, but you know, capital expenses and things like that. We easily put, so let's say there's $170,000 difference there. So $170,000 is what we essentially made on that. And what's this 170,000 divided by 930,000? What does that equal to? What, in other words, what did we make as a percentage on our money? We would call this ROI, or return on investment. What is our return on investment equal here? So let's do the math. Now I gotta go get my little calculator. 170 divided by 930. It's just a ratio. 170 is what percent of 930,000? So here we go. 170 divided by 930 equals 0.18 equals 0.18, or right, 18%, okay, right, over 13 years. Okay, so 18% over 13 years. So what is our APR? What is our, if you wanted to say, okay, we made this investment in a house, this wonderful house, we made it, we get to live in it, and it's where we raised Alice, and or somewhat, you know, she's 12, but forget about the heartfelt, you know, that part of the economic equation. We would call it utility. In the economics world, we call it, we got a whole bunch of utility out of that. With, you know, intangibles, right? We just talked about intangibles in my last lecture. What's the intangible value of the house? Well, it's infinite. You know, how do you put a value on love? You can't. But we can do some mathematics and say 18% over 13 years. What's 18/13? What is that per year, right? So you do 18 divided by 13 equals x over 100, right? So you do 13x equals 1800, or 1800 divided by 13 gets you to a decimal rate, which is, and my thing's running out of gas here, 1800 divided by 13 years, we made 1.3% per year. What is our ROI in terms of an annual percentage rate, right? Well, it turns out it's 1.38%. Well, nothing. Oops, I put 4.38. 1.38%. Is that a good investment? No. No. And that's not, it's also not accounting for all of the money that we put into the house. All we're saying with this equation is, oh, look at us. We made this $170,000 on our $930,000 investment. Well, not quite. How much gets chewed up in maintenance and things like that. So I would say to you or observe that this 1.38 is actually negative. It's a negative carry. And besides that, the 1.38%, not only do we have to account for maintenance and upkeep on the property, just for example, before we could sell it, we had to put in a new septic system. That was $25,000. So on and on and on. Anyone who owns a house knows this. Not only do we have to account for the maintenance and upkeep of the property, but also this idea of price inflation. Now, this is another thing I want to sort of get through your heads is price inflation is a function of money printing. So again, this is a government situation. When this country was on what was called the gold standard, there was no question about how much money there was in circulation. Now, because we're on what's called fiat money, after 1971, President Nixon went off the remnants of the gold standard, and now we have what's called fiat money. Fiat money, we have, and you can look these things up, instead of specie. And specie just means gold or silver or wampum. My crew, my ladies are wampanogs. Wampum was a money that the Native American Indians used back in Cape Cod. Tobacco, you may have heard of. If you want to read an interesting book on this subject, it's very short. Read Murray Rothbard, and the book is What Has the Government Done to Our Money? And it's a short book, and you can get it online at the Mises Institute if you want to. That's a think tank that I belong to, Mises.org. If you're curious about any of these questions, if you go to, and I can show you Mises.org very quickly. If you want to know how people like myself, and others think, how the free market people think, you can go to this site and you can look up, there's Murray Rothbard money, and what'll come up is all kinds of things. The theory of money and credit, Milton Friedman's there. There's all kinds of stuff here. But anyway, that's a very good site to go along. If you think you're being bombarded by one set of information and you want to see something else, I would suggest it. And it's quite interesting. Now, where'd my whiteboard go? That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So back to this. So we sold a house for 930 or $1.1 million, and we're buying a house for 730. Now, why the hell would we do that? Well, we are going to borrow the money for the other housing. Let me see if I can straighten that up. Yeah, well, look at the thing. Um, we're gonna borrow this money for this house. We're gonna borrow, and we're gonna put 20% down. Okay, so remember, we've got this $3,200 plus fees that's going out the door for our apartment right now, which I love. I'm down with apartment life. Also, I am sitting here in Rifle in a 1,500 foot, right, square, whoops, SQ, yeah, I'm going to do this time, square foot garage. Oh gosh, I can't see, it's getting late. Garage with this office. And that is another $1,500. Oops, $1,500 a month. Okay, so I got $1,500 a month in monthlies here. All right, and the business is going to take care of that. Okay, so $1,500 a month here. Now we get all our furniture is sitting out there. Obviously, we couldn't go from a 15 or a 4,800 square foot house to a 1,500 square foot apartment. So we had a storage problem. So that's what we did. So there's where we are now. It's kind of interesting, right? Now, what's my beef? When you lower interest rates, you will get a housing bubble, and you will get something else. You will get a shortage of housing. Okay. When you lower the interest rate, it will. There's two things at work, and it's a complex problem, and nothing's ever simple in economics. But the reason that there's no housing in the valley is that they zone everyone out of the wealthier towns. In other words, they make 2-acre zoning, and then they come back at you and say, well, I mean the town fathers, the council, the Garfield County commissioners. Then they come back and they say, oh, we need more affordable housing. You know, our teachers have to live here. And so the government gets involved in building housing, and free market people like myself go, well, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Why don't you just end the zoning at 2 acres, right? And allow the market to adjudicate what gets built, and good developers will come into town and they'll build nice apartment complexes. And then you'll eliminate cars going up and down 82. You won't need RAFTA anymore. You know, it makes me furious as a taxpayer down in Glenwood Springs to be paying for a bus system that basically runs around empty. But when it does have people on it, they're going up to jobs in Aspen. Why would I want to pay for Aspen's workforce to get up the valley? I have no interest in that, right? That's taxation without representation. We had a tea party in Boston over that one. So that's why we left England. We seceded because we weren't being represented. So here we go. We've got $170,000 in profit. Big deal. And now I'm going to get to what that means. So I put this money to work, and here we are in Charlie Schwab. You can see that I lost money today, but nevertheless, we're fine. I bought a bunch of stocks. This $1 million, right? And there's over $1 million. I got some cash here, and it's going to throw off how much per year? Okay. If we have $1 million, now let's open up a new one somewhere else, right? Like here. Let's say I have $1 million. $1 million in the market. Let's say the equities market. Equities are stocks. What is my return? ROI. Just like here, I can move this over. just like here, over here, I want ROI. So my return on investment here, buying a house. Now, granted, in that $1 million area of houses, they just didn't go up the way other, when you hear in the news, oh, housing is up 65%, over last year or over since 2007. We didn't get that growth. But what would 930,000 plus, let's say 65% be? Let me use my phone. 930,000. If we made a 65% return on that $930,000, so what price would I have had to get to make that? 930,000 plus 65% is 1,534,000. So when I talked to the real estate agent the first time, and Kelly and I had a big disagreement over this, she and I didn't see eye to eye. I said, well, the market's up 65%. Put the house on for $1.5 million, right? That'll be a good discount. And everybody went, oh, you won't sell it. And I don't know. I guess I'm wrong and they're right. But we did sell it for significantly less. But 65% over 13 years is still not a really great return. It's not magical return. So what would you expect me to make per year in the equities market? Should I make 10%? Okay. So $1 million. Let's say we had to, Kelly and I and Alice and Jimmy to some extent had to live on this $1 million. What would we need to make? 10%? Well, $1 million times 10%, $1 million will return 100,000 at 10%, right? The math is easy. So I'm going to make $100,000 a year. Okay. But wait a minute, Uncle Sam's my partner in this. If I have capital gains on that, if I manage to make 10%, $100,000, I'm gonna give back 28% of that. So I'll really only make on $1 million. I'm gonna make something like $72,000 after, and that's with state, local, maybe 70,000. Let's just say it's 70,000. State, local, all the taxes involved. So I take home 70,000. What if I divided that by 12? Much is that a month? 70,000 divided by 12, right? 5833. Now equals 5833 a month. 5833. Now let's just say that's all we can make. Obviously I don't make a ton being a professor. It's not big money. It's like $19 an hour, and you don't get paid. I don't get paid for this. Let's just put it that way. But my overhead right now is 32, and 15 is 47. So that would leave $1,100 for everything else, expenses. Let's just say we can't do it. I think the lease on Kelly's car would eat that up. So I have to have income elsewhere. $1 million is not going to return enough in the stock market. And 10%, by the way, is a heck of a return. The mean of the average mean return since 1899, when I started calculating, is about 8.6% in the stock market, if you don't lose it all, because it's risky. I should put exclamation. Right? Stocks are risky, right? Bitcoin is risky. Bitcoin is not a stock, but nonetheless. So I got a problem. My payments are bigger than what I can get in return here, even if I do a great job. And let's say in Morgan Stanley, in the other account that I trade, we're up 28% so far this year. And this one will kick in, and I promise, it'll do well, because I'm a man with a plan. But what does that mean? It still means we got a problem. We have a return problem, and this is what I'm trying to illustrate for you. You have to understand returns. You have to understand the price of money and expectations for returns, right? This money that we're putting aside that was in that house, I made that money in 1980 shoveling cow shit. So I don't want to be a smart ass, but I don't feel like giving it away. And I feel like I worked hard enough for those years that I should get a decent return on my capital. Okay, right? Just like Chaz, when he starts that business, he has an expectation of a return. So what should my expectation be? Oh, I don't know. Now, my last illustration is going to really clear up for you why manipulating monetary policy and fiscal policy, by the way, manipulating the economy has unintended consequences that politicians will never tell you about. Okay, one of them is price inflation, which they say, oh, it's benign. CPI is coming out tomorrow. You'll get to see the government scrubbing a figure to make it look good. But anybody who's driving up and down to 82, especially from Rifle, and working on entry-level position at a or even not, a middle management position anywhere, knows that the price of gasoline is inflation. That's price inflation. Anybody who shops at the grocery store knows that prices are going up. They're rising. They're not falling. They don't fall. Do you realize they should fall? All things being equal, if we were on a gold standard, the prices would not go up, they would go down. So, okay, now, last of my problem, and I'll leave you alone. Why, when we had this little apartment and we're doing our thing, and I got this $1 million in the bank, I'm trying to get return. Why? Kelly looks at me and says, we got to buy this house. We have to. And I'll show you this one. So just so you, for fun, because everybody likes looking at houses. It's fun to look at houses. This one's over in Lakota, 222. What was it? Black Horse or something? Black Hawk. There it is. Okay, so here's this one. Big change for Mr. Jim, because it's an HOA and stuff. Spring Valley, we are the law, but it's different. But it's beautiful, right? Okay, 5 bedrooms, 4,000 feet. Look at, just terrific. You can look it up on your own time. Check it out. But we're very fortunate. What if I'm right, and the real estate market is going to collapse, which I think it is. I think we're in another bubble, a number of bubbles, but one of them is in the stock market. Certainly, there's a bubble in public finance. There's a giant amount of debt. So if I think that it's going to collapse, why would we go out and buy a house? And the fact is, we're not buying a house. The bank's buying a house. We're going to put $140,000 or $145,000 up, and 20% down. That would be, so 70 times 2 is 7 times 2 is 14 plus 6. 146,000 would be 20%. So let's do the math. Let's do the math on, and this is a mortgage calculator. And you know, you can download this. I just put mortgagecalculator.xls in DuckDuckGo, and it gave me this sheet. So here we go. Enable editing. Oh, I gotta put it over here so you can see it. So this is what you would do. Now, if you look at Zillow, Zillow has their own. Let's look at Zillow's thingamajig, just for fun. They have this, you know, this software is everywhere, but I want to get you so you kind of understand why, what's behind it. Now this one, look what they have. I think here's the estimated payment, $29.36 per month. And the estimated payment would include, I think they have it down here. Well, here we go. Principal and interest, $23.50. Mortgage insurance, $0. Property taxes, mortgage insurance, they don't need to insure this. They think I'm good for the money when you get into a jumbo mortgage. So I'm gonna make me out of the way here. Okay, and then you have HOA fees. They're cheap down there. It's one of the reasons we like it down there. We belong to Ironbridge. It's $2.99 a month, and it's like, Okay, so anyway, insurance is included in that. Still, $29.36. We are below the $3,200 for a 1,500-foot apartment. That's crazy. Okay, something's wrong. Always in free markets, in a market-based system, rents are a function of mortgages. So these two should be flipped. This number 29, well, actually, I would say more something like 22, 23 should be what we're paying at the apartment. The 29 or 32 should be for this 4,000 square foot house. And what's the difference? Well, the difference is people can't make the down payment. You know, people that don't have the means that we have can't do the down payment. But remember, I'm going to take, and let me go back to this thing. I'm going to take 160 or 150,000. Let's say it's 150,000 out, so now I'm only going to have 850 to invest. So my returns will be less. Period. But I'll have a house. We'll have a house to rent, and we'll be buying the house with dollars. Other people's money, the banks, that will be, that if I'm right, will be worth less. Not worthless, I hope, but worth less. So here we go. What's our loan amount going to be? Well, it's going to be $730,000 minus, I'll put 150 down probably just to make it a round number. So we're going to finance 580. So 580. Now here's the other thing. Now it asks what my interest rate is. And this is where Morgan Stanley comes in, because I go on Morgan Stanley. The minute I bought this house, I talked to my guy, Joe Reap, and I say, Joe, what about mortgages? And he said, yeah, just apply, you'll get one. Now, for those of you who are first-time home buyers, you're like, oh, easy for him to say. And I would say something along the lines of, you know, I'm 57 and Kelly's 50, and she worked as a waitress for something like 35 years, and I worked as a dairy farmer and some other things. So the reason that we have wealth is because we're older. That's a lot of the reason. So, you know, when you start saying, oh, the rich, you know, you're not walking, come and walk in my shoes. You didn't work on Christmas Day for 20 years. So anyway, but that's what I'm just telling you, you know. But here's my purchase options for loans. Now, 2.15, right? 2.73 APR, 2.64. That's the kind of rate I can get. Those of you who have mortgages, you're going, wow, that's a great rate. Well, I'm basically borrowing my own money. So, of course I would get a decent rate. Now, what does this mean? 5/6 right? Adjustable rate mortgage. Down here, this is a 30-year fixed. I can get 260, 262, depending on how much I qualify. Still, my payment's going to be here. And by the way, they're adding in property taxes and homeowners insurance. They didn't add in these HOAs, but that'll be a little more, not much. Okay, so it's even less than what Zillow was talking about. But look at here. What the hell is this mortgage? And I'm gonna finish up with this. But you see the reason I'm forced to buy a house I don't want, right? Well, our whole idea was to downsize, and arguably we did it. Mission accomplished. It's a tiny little yard. There's no livestock, all that kind of stuff. But we still got a 5-bedroom house. It's a beautiful house. But I'm forced to go out and get that mortgage because my payment will be lower than renting. So now you may say, oh, well, you're a rich guy. What do you care? That's not a good example. Yes, it is a good example, because there's thousands of people, millions of people who are just making 70 grand a year who are doing the same arithmetic. They're sitting at a table, and maybe in Spanish right now, and going, we can't afford to rent. We've got to go buy a place. Can we get the down payment together? And that's where government programs come in again. Because you say, well, you're rich, you have a down payment. Yeah, but you can get a HUD deal. If you've been a veteran, you get a VA deal. There's all kinds of ways to put only 2 or 3% down and still get a good rate. Every president going back to Hoover has had a program to get people in houses. Okay, I think they're all a bad idea. I don't like government intervention in these things, but hopefully this little talk will start to get your head around what happens when you intervene in markets. So here's my payment. What is this 5/6 ARM? The ARM is for adjustable rate mortgage. Okay, so here's the loan payment, property taxes, insurance, etc. Now, what they mean by 5/6 is for the first 5 years, it's fixed. In other words, the interest rate is not going to change. From year 6 to years 30, it will adjust semi-annually. Which do you want? You're going to get, and I'll go back one here, you're going to get a lower interest rate with this adjustable rate mortgage, okay? Right? Look at how it's a lower, a lower payment here to start with. Back in 2007, they called that a teaser rate. A teaser. They were teasing you into getting a mortgage. And then you see, well, this one's 15 years fixed. That's why it's so high if you want to pay your house off fast. It used to be in the olden days, that was all you could get, was 15 years. Now with government intervention, we have a 30-year mortgage. So 2330, you pay an extra $100, but you're fixed. It's not going to change. The rate, if rates go to 20%, you're good, you're safe. So my dad and I were laughing. I said to him, well, should I take the adjustable rate mortgage? And, mortgage rates could go down. He said, he called me a bad word. He's like, you're an idiot. I said, I'm just kidding around. Because where are you going to go from 2.6? You think interest rates are going down? Maybe right before the dollar collapses. But in 1986, when I bought that dairy farm, I paid 10% on the land and 11% on the cows and equipment. Fixed. 15 years, and I was happy to get it. Okay. That was during Reagan when Volcker was in charge of the Fed and they let interest rates rise. If we have inflation, they will have to let interest rates rise. So the risk in this situation is on the upside, not the downside. It's on the upside, right? So I'm forced into buying a house, and then I'm forced into a fixed interest rate loan, which is I wouldn't be forced anyway. I'd always get one. I don't variable rate loans are for suckers. I shouldn't say that. If rates were at 10%, you thought they were going to 6, maybe that's what you'd do, right? You would buy the 5-year fixed with a 6 to 30 adjustable if you thought rates were going down. So you're betting on the price of money in the future. Okay? You're betting on the price of money in the future. And believe me, the banks have it down to a science, or they wouldn't offer these terms. However, by the way, Morgan Stanley, arguably my bank, basically went out of business. And I suggest if you want to watch a really cool movie about that, and I wish we could watch it in class, but The Big Short is a great movie for that. And there's a couple of documentaries I want you to watch. The Bubble movies are good on this. The reason I bring this stuff up and the reason I'm dragging you through a lecture about this, I hope someone found it interesting, is that I think that it's the issue of our time, and it's going to be the issue of your generation if you're young. I don't know, maybe I'll be dead by the time it becomes a problem. Here's that Bubble movie is a great movie. The Big Short is sort of a Hollywood depiction of what went on in 2007-8. And the Bubble movie is the Austrian version of that. So one would be Keynesian, one would be Austrian. So you'd get a good idea of how both schools of thought think about these types of things, the business cycle, as it were. But as accounting students, you can now see things that we've already even gotten into return on assets and some of these things. When you start to do an analysis, this is an analysis you might do as an accountant. And then always mathematically it makes sense, right? Go buy the house. And I'm like, well, not so fast. I'm taking 150 out from my nest egg over there that I need to keep growing, and things like that. And but people say to me, what should I invest in, Jimmy? And I say, well, tangible assets, not intangible assets. Remember that distinction. Tangible assets are gold, silver, precious metals, things you can hold, right? If you, the owner of Napa came to me one day. We go to the same church, and our kids were at school together. He said, "Hey, where should I invest in the stock market?" This is years ago, and I said to him, "What? You're great at doing auto parts. Buy another store. Don't take risk in the stock market. Why would you do that? You're getting more return on your auto parts store than you certainly are giving it to me, and much less risk. You know how to do the auto parts thing, So there you go. I just thought I thought that was interesting. I've given this lecture a number of times as Kelly and I went through this process, and now we're sort of at the end of it, and I'll keep you posted on how the financing aspect of it goes. But it's an interesting process, and you can see these decisions are not easy when you look at macroeconomic distortions such as are occurring at the Federal Reserve and whatnot. The other aspect, and I'll let you go. The other aspect of lower interest rates is you punish savers. So people, and this in particular is a tax on the poor, because for anyone to get ahead, they need savings. And you might say, well, don't worry about it. They'll have Social Security. Well, Social Security is not wealth. You can't pass it down. If you die with a Social Security payment, you can't give it to your kids. You see, wealth is built generationally. That's how it's built. So these programs like Social Security that are well intentioned are terrible programs. They punish the poor. But besides, why does my dad get a Social Security check? That's crazy. He puts it in the basket at the church. So what you want to do is, if you had to make one change to Social Security, is you would make it intergenerational. You would make it so that when someone who died and was poor, you would pay them out. But they can't do that because actuarially, if they paid out everyone what they were going to get in the next 10 years or something like that, you'd have to figure out how to do it. But there wouldn't be any money in the Social Security system at all. So not that there is, but anyhow, so that's my owning versus renting discussion about housing. Add to the math of it, zoning laws and overregulation, and what you end up with is a severe housing shortage and extremely high prices. And who are you zoning out? It ends up, from my perspective, Aspen is one of the most racist towns in the county. and you say that, I say it flippantly and I laugh. But what they don't do is look at the result of their policy. They hide behind this idea that, oh, well, we don't want to do anything in Aspen to ruin how beautiful it is. What a crock. Are you telling me at Cozy Point they couldn't build a bunch of beautiful apartments that were green and, I don't know, fit in with the landscape and all that kind of crap? It's not crap. That's what people want. But the developers would do a fantastic job, I promise. And we need 4,000 units up there. It's all in a report. You can read the report. They need 4,000 units just to keep up now. So do you want people driving up and down 82? If you're concerned about climate change, I'm not. If you're concerned about that, then you don't want all those cars. I don't want all those cars going up and down anyway. It's dirty. It's not right. And you're ripping people off. They're making less money coming from Rifle, right? So the unintended long-term consequences of your short-term ideas, well-intentioned as they might be, do this. They do this. And at the end of the day, Kelly and I are going to be fine with the money we made in the 80s. We'll be okay. Till the dollar collapses, and then we'll all be equally poor. And it won't matter. I'm very happy with that outcome. All right. If you have questions, I'll actually leave a spot for comments. You can comment or yell at me or do whatever you want. But I will see you Monday night with bells on. We'll do chapter 4. The end of the accounting cycle is upon us, and I'll assign the comprehensive accounting problem for your final project, and do a little more housekeeping and stuff. So I look forward to seeing you in class. If you want to come to class, please come. We have tons of fun in class. All right, and no Rona. So talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.